Good afternoon, everybody. I always forget to turn it on. Let the record show that it is 6:01, and the January 14th, 2020 Durant Council meeting is now in session. We will call it to order. And before we get started, it's kind of been a really, really sad day. I'm sure all of you know that the Sheriff's Department lost a deputy this morning. He was killed in an accident going out to make a call. He had been called. And he was responding to a call, and I think all our prayers are with him, with his family. And I think at this time we all need to remember the dangers that all officers are in when they put that uniform and they walk out the door and they get in that car. And not only did we lose an officer, the country lost an officer. When you lose an officer, the whole country loses an officer, and we've lost way too many this year, and also their brotherhood. And so my sympathies go out to all law enforcement because they have lost a brother. So our prayers are with them. We have asked Deacon Michael Clements if he will give us our invocation. So, Mr. Clements, please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold office in this city the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people through Jesus Christ our Lord. Lord, we also pray that you will keep us mindful of the fact that though we disagree, we are all here for the same thing, and that is the betterment of our city, the lives of our friends and our neighbors. Finally, Lord, we want to lift up the family of Jared Taylor. We ask God that you send your spirit of comfort and of strength, not only to his immediate family, but to the larger family, the law enforcement community in this area. Keep us mindful, Lord, of opportunities to minister to those who minister to us by keeping us safe. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, we ask you these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. At this time, please remain standing while the honor guard from the Durant Police Department post our colors. Please be seated. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Morris.
Present.
Councilmember Shear.
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Here.
Mayor Groby.
Here. Let the record show we have a quorum as all council members are present. We have our first order of business is a presentation of Employee Service Awards for fourth quarter of 2019. Neither of the two employees are here tonight, so we will read their names. They have a combined total of 40 years of dedicated service to the city of Durant. We have 10 years of service by Alvin Bagby. He's water treatment plant, and he will receive a certificate, a pen, and $100. Our second one is 30 years, Ricky McGinnis, And he's with the street department, and Ricky will receive a plaque, certificate, a pen, and $300. So let's give them a hand, even though they're not here. Maybe we should all split the money or something. Our next order of business, number 2, are consent items. And our consent items, I think most people know they can be voted on in its entirety. There are there's A through I. You can vote on the entirety with one vote, or you can pull an agenda item if you wish it to be discussed further. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to discuss item 2F and 2H.
Okay, we're taking out items 2F and 2H. Do we have a motion that we vote on the consent items less 2F and 2H?
Motion to approve the consent docket items with F and H removed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Could the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. We will go back now and reconsider the 2 items that were pulled out for consideration. Item number F, determination or consideration to reject construction bids number 17031-A, determined by second bid opening on Monday, December 9th, related to 17031 CDBG grant, Project C-2017-65 for the Market Square improvements at 123 North First Avenue. Ms. Becca.
Okay, maybe ask Councilman what his question was?
That might be in order. Yes, thank you. As I reviewed that, we are rejecting the one bid, I guess, that was in order. But I didn't really, or I guess if you could just bring me up to speed or up to date on where we are today with the project, and if it's still a possibility.
Yes, sir, and I'll be happy to do that because I heard something on the street this week that they thought some of the community thinks that the whole project is done. We're not moving forward. With the staff discussion, including the city manager and the architect, we determined that we could complete the project within budget and within the time frame that we have by utilizing our own city forces and subbing out, as we could say, that we would be the contractor, the city, and utilizing the necessary mechanical electrical services, but the city Parks Department would help build some of the items so that it would reduce our cost. We did a bid opening in November. Matter of fact, it was on Veterans Day. Both those bids came in over budget. And then the architect reduced some of the specs down, hoping to get it within budget. Again, on December 9th, both bids were opened, but there was an issue with one of the bids. The contractor said he made a mistake in his bid, but both of them, the other one is over budget, and we just could not negotiate with either one to make it fit. So we're asking that you reject those. The architect has already sent out a letter to those 2 vendors or contractors that we were presenting it tonight for council's rejection.
Yeah,
Does that help?
did see that. Yes, thank you, Becca. But just one kind of follow-up question. Are we still close to the scope of the original project?
Yes, sir. Yes, the scope includes a restroom facility there at the corner of First Street and Evergreen. And most of that will be built with city forces. And then the canopy, or two, depending on our budget, will go north and south in that parking lot area. That will benefit farmers market when in season and other events throughout the year. And then there'll be electrical improvements as well. And then hopefully we can do some seating as planned.
Okay, that's great. I'm
And
pleased that we're
yes.
going to be able to
And,
still do it.
right, and we're fully aware of the critical timeline that we have now that with the extension has been completed and closed by June 30th to allow us to resubmit the next CDBG.
And we are still under that June 30.
Yes, sir. I
deadline.
mean, everything has to be done, payments and all that. Mhm.
Thank you, Becca. And item 2, or 3H now, I guess.
Yeah, we
What
need
do
to
you wanna-
vote on this one first.
Right, right.
We need to vote on
And-
that now, or can
And
I'm sorry, go
Okay,
ahead.
can I say something? And you mentioned that there was only one eligible bid, and yes, that would be true, but Tom, because they were both open, we would still have to reject both, correct?
we? Yeah.
Do we have a motion that we accept, that's item number F? Do
Move
we have a
approval of
motion?
item 3F.
Do we have a second?
And do we need to name the contractors?
I think she did.
I don't think so. The agenda item, I think, is sufficiently clear that the motion is to reject the bids that were opened on December 9th.
Okay,
So I think that's sufficient.
So we're
you.
voting to reject this. So do we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you,
Reject the
Becca.
bid. Thank you, Becca. Item number H, the second item pulled out of consent, consider approval of Oklahoma Department of Transportation agreement with municipality for landscaping, C-2020-01.
Yes, that's out by Carl Albert Park, I believe. What are we planning on doing there?
Some type of project to honor the tractors.
Wonderful.
Are we doing that, or is it,
It will be jointly with the city and the tourism department or committee.
So this has gone before the tourism board too?
Not yet.
This is actually just getting us the opportunity to use that land. So that's all this.
We had to get permission then from the Department DOT, okay.
Yes, sir.
so the state's not doing anything, it's,
No, sir,
We're the
this
one-
would be on us, but it's the ODOT's property, so we have to get an agreement with them to be able to utilize that.
Move approval of the landscaping C-2020-01.
I second that.
Y'all are too fast. I hadn't called for the motion yet. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Number 4, under information items, any council member can ask any question about any of the reports. We have started having a report from our city manager, and if he would be so kind, we'd like for him to give us his report at this time.
Yes, ma'am. In December, we've been looking for a DIA director for quite some time. We received over 20 applications. We narrowed the field down to 5, and the search committee interviewed, and we conducted 2 rounds of actual interviews, and actually last week we hired a new director that'll begin the beginning of February. So we've done a lot of research on ordinances, different things, the private roll-off collections in the city. We've identified rural water district customers that are not being billed for sewer or garbage, and rural water district 2 specifically. So we worked with the city attorney on providing procedure to collect those revenues that is allowable by state statute, and that'll be considered by you guys tonight. The business license, it's been a requirement in the city since the 90s. To my knowledge, it's never been implemented or enforced. That's something that we're working on, getting notice to all the businesses that will start being enforced April 1st as is outlined in the code. So a couple of things we worked on this month.
Is there a cost to those permits or the business
The
permit?
fee schedule outlines it as $100.
Is that an annual
Yes, sir.
fee?
Yes, sir.
We
It's
just
due
haven't been
every
enforcing
first
that?
April. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct. It was, I believe, 97 is when it was put on the books.
It may not be in order, but if it is, do we know who the candidate is, or is that in order to,
It is,
if it's fine
it
if
is.
it's not?
It is. It's Lisa Taylor. She's out of Sevier County, Arkansas.
What was their what's their previous,
She's a economic developer for the state of Arkansas,
wow,
and they have areas all over the state, and she works out at Costat Community College there in DeQueen.
wonderful.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to ask our city manager while we got him here?
Actually, sorry, but yeah, the, I know we voted some time ago regarding the streetlights, and I know you had something in your report a couple of times to us.
Yes, sir. We're working on identifying streetlights that are out. Currently, we've identified over 120 in the city. We've reported those to the electric company, and they are working on them. 5 of them have been repaired, and I believe 21 have work orders on them at this time. So
It's
a
still the
lengthy
responsibility
process.
of the electric OG&E
Yes.
to replace those, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
But they're doing it with the new
LEDs.
LEDs.
Yes, sir.
I think there's a whole lot more than 100 out.
Yes, sir. We just haven't gotten through the whole
And-
city yet.
And I was led to believe that the lights that are on top of the signal lights are actually responsibility of the city.
Yes, sir, they are.
not
And we're
OG&E.
working on those as well.
There's a whole bunch of those are out.
Yes, sir.
Some have been out for probably 10 years.
Longer than I've been here. You're correct.
What, in my, be good even for the media to maybe help us with this, but what's, if, you know, citizens driving at night or whatever, what's the process for a citizen to, or us for that matter, to report it out? Who do we call?
They,
Ghostbusters or?
the best way to report it is go to OG&E's website and report it on there. So we've gotten the best response from them in that manner, so.
Oh, okay.
I hope they're better than they have been. It took me 4 years to get one replaced.
Yes, sir. And there's a bunch of them out right down by your restaurant.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, there's 7 right there in that general location, and one of those 7 that have been replaced, and it's not on, Ninth Street, so.
If there are no more questions, thank you for the report. Number 5 under,
I do have one more,
okay.
sorry. Regarding the airport, Ms. Katie. I know we've had some issues with the, of course, the construction has affected those fuel sales, but have we got our contaminant issue squared away?
So, to be honest, we have We do not have any official findings right now that there's any contamination going into underground water, the sewage drains around it. Those were speculations by the contractors who gave us some pricing of remediation.
So it's not an issue.
That we know of,
Okay, great.
that we know of.
Pleased to hear that. then.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Don't
you-
run
you-
off.
You made a reference to vandalism. What kind of vandalism are we experiencing out there?
We've had well, I believe it was a heavier truck, it could have been a smaller car, hit the electric gate, goes into the back. I've also had an electric line that runs up an antenna pole servicing all my internet, wire cut, very clear that it was cut. We've had hangars broke into. We've had 3 aircraft that I'm aware of that were vandalized
Is this in the past month?
past 2.5 months.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, I understand there's some cameras missing.
Correct, yes, sir.
You mean they took the
Do we
cameras?
need a legal clarification on whether or not those cameras can be reinstalled?
I don't want to get my. 2 of the camera feeds that are missing are on the Hangar 10 hangar now, and they were under the understanding that they did not have to have those cameras. They called this is before my time. They called the city, told them to collect those cameras. They took the liberty of taking them down. We no longer have them. So I have no cameras on the back side of the airport right now. I do have 1 camera that works on the ramp.
Is that something?
Is that term of the lease that they can do that?
I did not see it in the lease, sir.
Maybe we need our attorney to review.
There were some lights out at the airport. Is that still the case? Have they been replaced? Around the
We had
terminal area?
we have 2 large pole lights in the parking lot. I already have a contractor. I've already bid it out. It's well under a bid. It's well under a bid quote for us. So he should hopefully be here within a week or 2. I'm just waiting on them to fix that large light, and we're going to change that to LED. All the lights on the building, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 that are giving us problems, have been changed. I've got maybe 1 pole light still out between the terminal and the large hangar. But we have replaced well over 60 lights on the building that had not been maintained.
Didn't we have some in this construction project, didn't we?
On the airfield itself, yes. So the construction project included replacing all the runway lights, including the existing ones, and the extension of the taxiway will be all brand-new lights as well. And the subcontractor working on the electric lights has done a fantastic job, and they've made sure all the existing lights work for me as well.
Thank you, Katie. And I might just, as a council member, suggest that you maybe communicate with the city manager and maybe even our law enforcement folks, particularly along the vandalism issue, and see if we can get some kind of working plan there or something that might deter or
I have
serve
2
you-
plans.
help
I've just for your information, to try and fix the gate right now. I have 2 bids. Correction, I keep using the word bids, but costs out for repairing the gate, because again, somebody hit the gate, so now the back gate doesn't work at all. But due to easy access points, if you will, around the other sides of the property, this will help minimize, but it won't fix the problem until I get perimeter full fencing, which is in my 5-year airport plan.
Katie,
If those cameras had been there, would you be able to identify who hit the gate?
I suspect we might have had a lead.
do you have a lead now, or
Negative.
Did this just recently, the vandalism just recently start? You mean we've never had vandalism and now we have vandalism?
No, ma'am, I believe that there's always been vandalism, but to my knowledge, Moore Fencing is the one who installed our fence, and to his knowledge, he said that the fence has only been hit one other time in a 20-year period. So, and to my knowledge, there's never been a cut wire to any of our system, our electrical or whatever. In this case, it was our internet, Verizon, but it's never been done according to them before.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Katie? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Katie. Thank you.
Our next item, under number 5, Administration, consider acceptance of the 2016 Land and Water Conservation Fund LWCF Grant Project Amendment 40-1229.1 from the Oklahoma Department of Tourism and Recreation related to time extension and scope change necessary to complete Carl Albert Park project improvements, C-2016-78. Ms. Becca.
Okay, thank you. As we all are aware, we've had multiple challenges at Carl Albert Park. And so we presented a plan to the state for some modifications with a request for an extension of time, which it has been extended until December 31st of this year. And you'll see the schematic. When we approached you about a year ago with the possibility of an adult fitness court, and we were approved for a $30,000 grant. However, we needed to raise another $90,000, and we had some community partners that were trying, and that just never came to fruition. So we've removed that item, and with an agreement from the Park Board Advisory Board, that be removed as well. So the state has removed that out of the project, and as you'll see, the green area in your schematic, the staff, through multiple conversations and the Park Board, we can create a multi-purpose court or field, whatever you want to call it, that can be utilized for many different things, from soccer, volleyball, a possible space for a mobile ice rink to come in the winter time. And so the state liked the idea, so they were allowing us to put that in the area between the Dream Court basketball court area and the playground. And so that'd be an addition, but the state has approved for us to continue with the 2 separate playgrounds, one for the older children and a preschool area, along with fencing to divide all of these different areas and canopies to protect not only the children, but the longevity of the equipment. Okay?
That was a mouthful.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Are there any questions for Ms. Becca about this? Is there any further discussion? Do we have a motion that we accept item number 5A?
Motion to accept 5A.
Do we have a second?
Second.
If there's no further discussion on this, would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Morris?
Aye.
Councilmember Shear?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham?
Aye.
Mayor Groby?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beckham. We will now move into the public hearing section. Number 6, A, consideration ordinance number 1892-PC 2019-20, a rezoning from C-2 to R2 for property located between Bryan Drive and University Boulevard. Danielle.
Good evening. Yes, this is for a rezoning. It's for an area, it doesn't really have an address, but it's right next to the First United Bank on University and Bryan Drive, if that kind of gives you a point of reference. There's a couple maps in here that you'll see here in just a minute that'll show where that's at. The surrounding area is primarily commercial with the residential on that back piece where those houses are. that's on Legacy Drive. There's an aerial there. So that where that red marking is there is where there's houses at currently. And it's called Legacy Drive off of there. What they're wanting to do, it's the same owner. They're wanting to extend that to the north to face University. They're wanting to have about 3 duplexes. They're eventually going to be looking at doing a lot split as well of that piece of property, but I advise them probably the best way to do this is to try to do the rezoning before they've sunk too much money into doing the lot split and getting the surveying and things like that done. So the current land use map does call this area to be for commercial. So the Planning Commission did wind up going ahead and rejecting, requesting denial of this request here. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll let you ask any questions that you have. I'm not sure. I do not see the applicant this evening. I didn't see him earlier, so.
Is there no one here that wishes to speak for or against?
Yeah.
Danielle,
Yes.
does the lot split occur without coming before council again, right?
Correct, correct. With
But the rezoning needs to be,
correct,
in
correct.
place.
They would not have to go through unless they'll have to do like a public road, so that piece you'll probably hear, but the actual lot split would not have to come through.
okay, in that red square, that's the piece of property, right?
Yes, the red square is the piece of property in
So that's north,
question.
and that's south.
Correct.
To the south, they're building those nice duplexes there.
Yes, they have like the duplexes and houses and all back in there, yes.
And is Legacy, help me out, where's Legacy at?
It's the road that's directly right behind First United Bank. So there's that little, looks like a little driveway type thing. And then you'll see that it looks like
Okay,
kind
that's
of an
off
L shape. See if I can't
off
move this.
of,
There we go, okay. Right
Right
here,
there, okay, gotcha.
yes, is Legacy Drive.
Okay.
And then these are where the lots are, where the houses and all that are.
Danielle, what was the reason the zoning board turned it down?
They had a long discussion about this one. The main reason was not in agreement with the comprehensive plan, the land use map. They did ask, because we are working on that currently and working on the future land use map as well. And the concern still is that we don't foresee this area really changing on the land use map side of things, primarily with University being a major thoroughfare of the city. You typically want your commercial to be in that area versus residential.
So the land use map that you're working on now, that needs to be approved in June, hopefully, right?
Hopefully,
It's gonna be the same, C2.
most likely, yes. I don't see the areas really changing a whole lot
Did-
on the land use. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. Right now, that Legacy Drive is the only route of ingress and egress in there. Would that still remain the case if this was
No.
approved?
No, they would have it extending up to that piece of property. That driveway that goes into First United right now would remain there. But there would be a gate at the end of that, so it would be mainly for emergency personnel only to be able to access off of University is what they stated in the Planning Commission meeting.
For the residents, they still would have one ingress and egress, which really comes out through the driveway on the other side. It's not really even a street entrance, sort of. It's
Right.
just curious about that.
Is there any other discussion?
Does the property owner own the rest of that property to the street, to University?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
These lines are a little skewed because they
Okay.
come from the county,
I-
so I'm not
I-
exactly sure where that line is.
As I reviewed that too, I think you made a reference that this is not a spot zoning
Correct, because it
case
has that,
in itself, okay.
right, yep.
And the planning commission recommended denying.
They did.
Is there any further discussion? Any further questions? Any further questions? The public hearing is now closed, and is there any discussion amongst the council members? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to deny ordinance 1892 PC 2019-20 for rezoning from C2 to R2.
We have a motion to deny 6A. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second to deny 6A. Would the clerk please record? Is there any further
Yeah.
discussion?
Question, so the motion is to deny the rezoning request from the R2 or C2 to R2, right? That correct? Okay.
Yes, that's what the planning commission
Right.
recommended.
Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
No.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion 6A denied. Our next item on the agenda,
Just,
Thank
Madam
you,
Mayor,
sir.
just for the announcement purpose, the motion was approved to deny the ordinance. Yes, so-
thank you. The next part of our agenda is our number 7, citizen comments on non-agenda items. And we have 4 people who signed up. And I would like to remind, and I believe I've talked to one of the ladies here, and you are allowed, we allow you to speak for 5 minutes, 4 minutes. You're allowed to speak for 4 minutes, and the council can make no comments, because since this is a non-agenda item, we are not allowed to make any kind of comments. At this time, we will call Georgia Ann Gibson. Our number 1, would you please come forward? And state your name and your address, please, ma'am.
I'm Georgia Ann Gibson. I live at 2402 Briarwood Avenue, Durant, Oklahoma, 74701.
Okay, and we'll start the clock.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight. I'm coming before you with an issue that has been very important to me for a long time. It is trash and litter in the city of Durant. I live on a large piece of property, and I'm constantly picking up litter. If you'll see on the sidewall over here, I have 3 bags that I've picked up in the last couple of days, several hours of picking up litter along Gale Farrell, about 2 blocks, which is right down from our police, fire, and our park. And this is ongoing. It has been for years. I'm a 5th generation Durant resident. I've come back in retirement here, and I've tried to maintain my property as best I can, as my parents did all their properties for many years in Durant. And I'm finding right now, having gone through the channels, I'm used to channels, and I've been told that other cities have the same problems that we do, but this is my city, and I want it to be the best it can be. I'm riding up and down the streets of Durant, and I see poly carts that are left for weeks and months at a time overflowing. I see trash and boxes that are left, not being picked up. I see people leaving their mattresses, old furniture, left on blocks for weeks and months at a time, could be years. I drove around for 25 miles over the weekend to see 4 corners of Durant. It's not in one area. It's north, south, east, and west. So if you are not seeing what I'm seeing, you are turning a blind eye to this situation. I do live on, like I said, in an area of Durant that has a lot going on for it. My parents moved out there before anything was developed, and so Durant has built around me. So I'm seeing what is happening right now. It's worse as the years go on, I do believe, as far as with the poly carts. I've talked with our people that are responsible for that. I've gone through the city and being told that it's everywhere. It's other places. I won't buy that. I've lived other places. I've written letters to the newspaper. People tell me I'm speaking to the choir when I talk about this, but I'm bringing it before you, and I have years of the zoning and the guidelines for our disposals. And I asked for one last January, and do you know what I got? It was passed in 12/12 of 95. And this is what we're going on. But these are all of the years that I have collected that talk about disposal and how we're supposed to take care of our poly carts and the trash on our curbs. So I'm bringing this to you to find out how we can improve our city. I have lived in West Africa, and let me share with you, as I've shared with the people of Durant and the newspaper, people are more proud of their dirt, living on dirt with no running water or electricity, than we are in Durant, Oklahoma. So I bring that to you, and I thank you for allowing me to do this tonight.
Thank you very
Georgia.
much. The next person on our list is Paula Knight. Miss Knight, would you come forward? And state your name for the record and your address, please, ma'am.
Paula Knight, 2004, 5 Doe Road, Boat Cheetah, Oklahoma. I just want to address the fact that I lost my father December the 27th. We buried him December the 31st and was charged an additional $500 for the opening and closing of his grave. Guys, it's not the money, it's the fact that our loved ones die every day, and we can't choose whether the cemetery people's on vacation or what, but it was already $995 to open and close it, then an additional $500. I think that that's something that needs to be addressed with you guys, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dan Craig is next. How are you, Dr. Craig? Would you give your name and your address, even though we
Dan.
know you?
Dan Craig, 1811 Mooney Drive, Durant, Oklahoma. My purpose of addressing you tonight is to make you aware of my dissatisfaction with the Mooney lift station construction. It's all started out, I was sent an email asking to sign a new easement for the Mooney sewer line crossing my place, because I was told that the old easement did not line up with the sewer line, and they were going to be rehabbing rehabbing that lift station and needed to get a new easement. I was sent an email that was, I can show you if you like, but it was 24 by 36, condensed down to paper size for the email. Couldn't read it, so when I talked to the person that brought me the easement to sign, I was told it was strictly to realign the easement with the sewer line, that there were no other changes. No additional land was going to be taken. So I signed it without taking it to a lawyer for any opinion, because I thought with the city, since there's no money, they're not out to make money or anything, all we're doing is realigning the easement. I found out real quick that was not the problem, or not the case. There is a complete new sewer lift station, as all of you are aware of. My main objection is that this new lift station is right in my front yard. And I have found out from the contractor that in the completion of that, there is to be a 6-foot plus chain link fence put around it with a 35-foot concrete pad. Like I said, this is in my front yard. I said, I don't like the lift station, but I can live with it. But you're putting an eyesore in my front yard to put the fence and the concrete pad. What I would like to see done is the fence not there, because you don't need it. There's a fence already around the place. The pad, if you've got to put it for stabilization or whatever, to bury it below ground so it's not sticking out. I also have a problem that I was not told when the term was used, rehab. I thought adding new pumps or whatever. I wasn't told about that it'd be at least April before this is finished. So I have lost the use of the land until April. I would ask for a temporary fence to be put up. I've not had anything done on that yet. So I've lost the use of the land, and I'm also having increased feed usage. So I would like to see those taken care of. The only other item that really is a concern to me is that our sewer line was cut while they were digging this. They've done a temporary repair, and I would like to make sure that there is a permanent repair whenever this is finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our fourth person, Tim Rundle. How are you, Tim?
Good. How you doing, Mayor?
Good. Give your name and address.
My name's Tim Rundle, address 1810 Oak Hills Drive here in Durant. And I'm here tonight to not necessarily make a complaint, but make a recommendation for this upcoming year. For those of you that travel, and I've traveled quite a bit down West Arkansas lately, doing some rehab on my wife's business over there off of 9th and Arkansas and Texas area. And the street between 9th to 21st on Arkansas is fairly busy with a lot of pedestrian traffic. And I'm here tonight to tell you, I've witnessed over the last probably 6-8 months driving that quite a bit. You see kids using the railroad tracks because they don't want to walk out in the street because sometimes the cars go a little fast down Arkansas. And I see mothers pushing strollers in the grass. I've seen some of our disabled citizens having to use their electric wheelchairs and stuff and go into the grass because it's 2-lane, but it's extremely busy there. So, and I know we've got the CIP tax coming up for an election real soon, but I would ask you to do this, regardless of whether the sales tax passes or not, that you take a serious look at that. I know last year, I think somebody had brought it to our attention. Marty had gotten a quote on what that would be. And I want to say it was somewhere around the $40,000 to $60,000 range to go from 9th to 21st with the sidewalks. I just, like I say, I see this all the time. You know, West Arkansas and that stretch right there is utilized probably second to Main Street as far as traveling east to west, and even more than Evergreen, I think, because there's always a lot of traffic along there. So, but that's what I'm here tonight is just to ask, and I know John's going to start getting that budget ready here pretty soon, and Chin, and just take a serious look at this. It's not necessarily something that's going to benefit the businesses, going to benefit the residents, but benefits the pedestrians that walk a great deal up and down West Arkansas. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
That concludes our list of speakers for number 7. Number 8, is there any new business?
Madam Mayor, I actually do have something that I'd just like to sort of make an announcement. Several months ago, the council adopted an ordinance, and it was an ordinance that mirrored an ordinance that the city of Tishmingo had put in place, and the purpose of which was to protect the interest of the city in the Arbuckle Simpson Aquifer. And it was essentially done so that the city could bring a nuisance claim if there was a upstream actor that interfered with the city's claim to the water. And since the city of Durant uses the Arbuckle Simpson Aquifer exclusively for its water for its citizens, it was profoundly important. Well, when the city of Tishmingo put that ordinance in place, they almost immediately got sued by some of the mining interest upstream, and that may have been the design, but that they immediately got sued, and it's been a long and sort of protracted lawsuit, several years in the making. It was filed in March of 17. And then we sort of weighed in with our ordinance and worked with the legal team for the city of Tishmingo. The Chickasaws were chipping in. The Choctaws took an interest in it as well. And so just recently on December 16th, the trial court found in favor of the city of Tishmingo that its ordinance didn't violate any constitutional provisions or anything like that. So it gave some a victory to the city of Tishmingo and those seeking to protect the city's interest in the upstream water supply. So that could have a profound effect on the city of Durant. as well, even though we don't pull from exactly the same part of the aquifer, we pull from the same aquifer. And 30 days hasn't passed since the ruling, so there could still be appeals. Seems pretty likely that it would, the trial judge's ruling was extremely detailed and thoughtful. So I suspect on appeal that the bulk of that, if not all of it, would be affirmed on appeal. But that's a victory for the city of Tishmingo, is a fight that we won't have to fight now. I suspected that there was at least a chance that when the city of Durant passed that ordinance, that we would get sued as well, or we would at least, or maybe be brought into that suit because of similar issues. And that was okay because we needed to get those resolved. But it looks like the city of Tishmingo has sort of fought that fight for us, but that victory is a victory for the city of Durant and the future of our water supply. So
Hear,
good
hear.
for the council for doing that, and,
Hear, hear.
and good for the city of Tishmingo fighting that fight.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any more new business? If not, do I have a motion for adjournment? Nobody wants to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Danny.
Adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
They're playing with me tonight. We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. We are now adjourned out of the city council part of our program or our meeting. The next, we will now, let's see, the clock looks like it is 6:52. Let the record show it is 6:52, and we will now start on the Durant Airport Authority.
No, utilities,
Huh?
the utilities.
Oh. Okay.
Ready for roll call?
I'm ready for roll call.
Okay,
We're in the utility department, by the way,
okay.
agenda.
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Trustee Shear,
Here.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Here.
Chairman Groby.
Here, we have a quorum, all are present. The first item of business, number one, consent items. We have two consent items. Are there any questions about the consent items? Or would somebody like to make a motion that we vote on both A and B together?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
We have a motion to consent, to approve both consent items, A and B. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shear,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. Consent items approved. If there are no questions under number 3 on the information items, we'll go to number,
I've got a
excuse me,
question.
go ahead, Danny.
Number 3, D, utility line maintenance report.
Okay, do you want, that's, okay. Marty?
Yes, sir. What's your question?
Do we have a larger than average number of leaks this year in the water lines?
We do have a larger than average number of leaks. Currently, I'm sitting on about 40 to 50 leaks. Obviously, it varies every day because we fix some and then we get some more phone calls. We are relatively staying flat. We're fixing just as many as we're finding, which is not a good sign. We're not getting any ground gathered up. Most of them aren't huge leaks. They're wet spots, you know, that are maybe dribbling across the road even, but they're not flooding houses. They're not creating an undercut on a roadway that would be dangerous or anything like that. Obviously, we attack those leaks first. So, but we have had a larger number than we've had in past years.
What is your theory on
I think the lines are getting old.
old age?
Most of them are in your original town plat
Right.
area.
and they're steel lines that have been patched a lot. You know, the millions it would take to replace them all, something we don't have in the budget, so we continue to repair. Your outlying areas are very less likely to have leaks. I'm not sure why otherwise. It seemed like we had a lot of ground movement when it was really hot this summer. We always get ground movement when it heats up, but maybe not. The ground moved differently this year, if I can say that, because we had more leaks pop up. And we've just never caught back up yet.
How is our manpower in that?
It's steady now. We've gone through a transition. Early fall, we were short 2 or 3 people, actually, where we had lost people and then trying to find somebody to rehire that wants to go do that kind of job. We're holding steady with manpower right now that all have 3 or 4 months under their belt at least, so they're getting to where they can operate on their own. We have some good crew leaders, I think, in place now, and I think we're moving forward, but we're still behind the 8 ball on the numbers, so. You know, you gotta realize we've also had a pretty good year for new housing and commercial development. They don't just fix leaks. They also put in sewer taps and water taps and all that, and that takes away from the other job. When the housing market goes up, we don't have as much time to do repair because we got paying customers that need tapped in. So, I mean, that's part of it too, maybe.
Any other questions for
Thank
Mr.
you.
Marty?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, I forgot where we were. Okay, number 4, under administration, consider approval of resolution 2020-01, establishing procedure for determination of delinquency of accounts of City of Durant sewer and wastewater customers who are provided water by a rural water district, directing publication.
Madam Chair, this is a resolution that was requested by staff. When the Utilities Authority provides water to the bulk of or the services to the bulk of the citizens of Durant, they provide water and sewer services. But there are certain citizens within the city limits that get their water from a rural water district. And if I don't pay my bill, the city provides me water and sewer. If I don't pay my bill, they come cut the water off. Well, if the city is not providing the water service, the city can't cut the water off. So we've got some customers that are receiving sewer-only services or sewer and other services, but not water. And so the city can't cut the water off to get them to pay their sewer bill. But there's a provision within Title 11 of the statutes that provides that once the city develops a procedure of notice to those customers, that the city can then ask the rural water department to cut off services to that customer until such time as their sewer bill is paid. So this resolution establishes the procedure pursuant to the statute that would then allow the Utilities Authority to notify the rural water district, hey, we've got a non-paying customer that's been afforded this due process in the procedure. They still haven't paid. You can cut their water off now until such time that they've paid. And then the statute directs some timing, once they've paid, within a business day, the Utilities Authority has to notify the rural water district. Within a day, the rural water district has to turn the service back on. So this is just the procedure in this resolution that allows the city to request the rural water district to terminate service once a customer has, if a customer doesn't pay their bill. Keep in mind, even under this procedure, and then once it gets to the rural water district and they follow their procedure, this is a minimum probably 90 days that a customer has to pay their sewer bill before they even risk cut off at all. So we're not putting in a procedure that, or you're not putting in a procedure that once they get delinquent by a day or two, they risk losing their water service. This is a long time that they have to get caught up even after they've been notified.
Tom, is the rural water district required if we request them, or are they just asked?
They are with this procedure in place.
Required by law?
Yes, sir.
Yes, under the statute, they would be. Without this procedure, we could ask them to turn the water off, but they're not under any obligation. But once this procedure is adopted by statute, then it gives our request some teeth.
How many customer accounts does this involve?
I don't know the total number of accounts.
We know how much they owe us.
I know how much they are.
There are some that owe us.
Yes, sir, about $300,000 worth.
Are these larger accounts or are these residential?
Residential accounts.
Rural Water 2.
Yes, sir.
Well, have we, and I'm sure we have, but kind of begs two questions for me. We're doing a resolution. Would an ordinance be in order? Just asking.
It's a legitimate question, and it's one I first thought about because I originally drafted this as an ordinance by the city, but it's the Durant City Utilities Authority that is actually the entity that administers the water and sewer services. So because of that, it's the Utilities Authority that needs to adopt the policy. So the Utilities Authority can't adopt an ordinance. Only a resolution setting
Would there
forth
still
the
be
policy.
then an opportunity for the city to develop an ordinance though, or the utilities authority?
Under the statute, I don't know that it's necessary because the
Okay.
statute specifically says the entity, it doesn't require the city to adopt an ordinance. It just requires the entity providing the services to develop a policy.
Two different things, but it would carry the same weight, I guess, is what this resolution would, okay?
Under the statute, yes.
Okay.
And
And
we-
secondly, would we, or have, I'm sure we've visited with Rule 2 and Rule 5, but are they in agreement to, are they aware of this?
My understanding is that Rule 2 has refused to cooperate in any manner. So
Even if we
that's- That's why the issue is where it is.
Interesting.
Yes, sir.
Rule 5.
Rule 5 in our agreement with them, there's a procedure in there for them to terminate service,
Well,
which,
and we
which the law
provide that-
allows you to do that if
Yeah.
it's in your agreement with them. So if you don't have it in there, then that's why you have to follow on the statute with the resolution as Thomas prepared.
And of course, we provide almost 100% of their water, but, okay, so we're putting some meat
Yes, sir.
in place to,
Yes, sir. To be able to collect what's due to this, to the utility authority.
Will this be retroactive or
Yes.
just going forward?
It will be what they owe us. Yes, sir. So it will be retroactive. So, because they owe us. So
How
okay.
long a period of
Wait a
time
minute,
we
wait a
going
minute.
back?
from the time that they have owed us money,
The customers owe us money, or does
Yes,
Rule
sir.
Rule 2
the
owe us?
customer.
Rule 2 doesn't collect it and then
Correct. We
reimburse
collect,
us.
we collect our sewer
The-
and our
the-
trash revenue.
Okay, so it's the residencies that are
Yes, sir.
delinquent.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Well, it comes to,
How's that, the rate determined? Do we have access to their water?
Yes, sir. They
usage?
give us a report with the water usage.
And we
That's
bill
how-
it
that's how our
basically
rate
same
is.
as
Yes, sir.
Same as if we were selling them the water?
Yes, sir.
I have one other question. What do we do about the people that are sewage-only customers that have a well? Can we go after them in any way?
I don't know the
That's-
answer to that. Presumably,
I know we have some. They exist, believe me.
I mean, that's not contemplated by the statute necessarily.
Unplug their wells?
Yeah, I don't,
Put a dead mouse down there.
yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but, yeah, we can't cut their I mean, cutting the water off is really the only enforcement measure that we have, because if we can say we stopped providing them sewer service, but they still drain it down the hole. So I don't know unless we take some sort of collection action against them. That's really about all we can do.
I don't see that as a major
Off the
problem.
cuff,
I'm
anyway.
just wondering.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize that was out there.
are we gonna have to go to court to get our money? I mean, does it sound that critical, or are they just gonna come in one day and pay us $300,000?
Well, I mean, these are individual accounts that add up to that much. Some of
Right.
them will be a few dollars and some of them will be a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
but,
Well, and
just
the
have-
truth is, if they get the water turned off, that's an incentive to come pay it,
That's
or
correct.
start paying it.
Because right now, there is no incentive.
Right. That's pretty significant. I don't guess you can turn the sewer off, but you can turn the water off.
Is it water, sewer, and trash, or most of them trash too, or?
I believe most of them are sewer and garbage.
These are
Unfortunately,
mainly residential accounts.
Yes, sir.
unfortunately, the statute doesn't provide for the termination of all services. That's one thing that I looked at is does it, can the city, upon failure to remit payment for sewer and trash, cut off all services? And the statute doesn't contemplate that. It just is, when they fail to pay their sewer bill, we can cut the water service off, or we can direct the rural water district to cut their water off. I don't find anything under the statute that says we can cut off their trash pickup. So, if they fail to pay the sewer bill.
I think the good thing is we found it, and hopefully we can recoup that money. That would be great. So, y'all don't look too hopeful, but hopefully we can. Is there any further discussion on item 4? If not, do we have a motion that we approve Resolution 2020-01?
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2020-01.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, and second, and second.
Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shear,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment out of the Utility Authority?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second for adjournment? Well, we'll just stay up here.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shear,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. We are now out of the Utility Authority. Let the record show that it is 7:10, and we will now convene into the Durant Airport Authority. We'll call that meeting to order, and would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Trustee Shear,
Here.
Trustee Tomlinson. Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Here.
Chairman Groby.
Here, we have a quorum. Item of the order of business, number 1, consent item. There's only one item. Do we have a motion that we approve the consent item?
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the consent item 1A. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shear,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. Motion approved. Next item, looks like, is there any new business? We'll jump down to number 6. Any new business? If not, do we have a motion for adjournment out of the Airport Authority?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shear,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. We are now adjourned out of the Airport Authority, and we now let the record show it is 7:12, And we are now convening into the Durant Development Authority. And would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Trustee Shearer,
Here.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Here.
Chairman Groby.
Here, we have a quorum, we're all here. The order of business, 1A, consent item, to approve the regular minutes of the October 8th meeting. Do we have a motion?
Move to, excuse me, move to approve the consent items.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shearer,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye, motion carries. New business, is there any new business for the DDA? If not, do we have a motion for adjournment?
A motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn out of the Durant Development Authority. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Would the secretary please record the vote?
Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Trustee Shearer,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Aye.
Chairman Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned, and that concludes our program. Whatever you want to call this tonight.